Xavier, welcome back to Scotland. It was, I think, 3 years ago that you were here, a bit more.
Too long.
Too long. And welcome back to the Age of Scotland Institute, where, as you know, our mission is to really educate and inspire tomorrow's leaders in Scotland and to get them to acquire a better understanding of Asia and its potential. And since you were here before, I would like to start off by asking you perhaps what your view is of that mission. Is that a good thing to be aspiring to achieve? And should we continue to do something like that?
First of all, pleasure being here again. As I said earlier, it's been too long. Is it important? I think it's actually vital. Mm-hmm. Asia is just getting started. And actually within Asia, China in particular, is just at the beginning of a very, very steep acceleration in its growth path, because that has not been perhaps fully understood yet or just fully relayed out in Western markets. China is engaged now in a deep restructuring of its industry. Yes, some of the older industrial businesses at times are struggling. China closed 5,000 coal mines last year. Sure. If you look at southern China, service economy is booming. Yep. It's recalibrating its economy toward consumer spending, repealed the one-child policy that was hindering the growth of consumer
Leaders
spending.
in solar and alternative energy.
And it's completely retooling, as you said, its economy towards green, sustainable energy. Go back to China in 5 years, the place will be transformed. And so it's just the beginning of a trend that we'll see at current rate, China overtake the US economy by 2030.
Now, I know that you were at the Scottish Parliament earlier today, so I have a Scottish-type question for you, which is that you will remember what happened with the Scottish banking system, and of course there was the Indie Ref that didn't happen, or happened but didn't deliver an independence vote. What's China's view of that? China, which dislikes what they call splitism, and how seriously does China take Scotland as a financial centre, or Edinburgh particularly?
Well, I couldn't comment on Chinese political phrases, which I think very much relate to their own domestic agenda and domestic political environment. And President Xi has been reappointed, and I think his imprint, not just on Chinese politics, but on the Chinese economy and the development of the Chinese economy, will be very long-lasting. And I, of course, cannot speak for Chinese investors, Chinese government, but because of the current development of our London, Shanghai Stock Exchange, Stock Connect, I'm in China very often, sometimes as much as once a month. And we do have, owing to our FTSE Russell business, a very, very deep understanding of Chinese financial markets. We run the largest domestic equity index futures contract, the 850, which is a FTSE Russell index. And what I know, when I've observed, when I've heard from Chinese policymakers, from Chinese investors, bankers, and other intermediaries, they don't really look so much at the national profile on its own. They will look at a stable political environment. They will look at a set of well-regulated markets where property rights, for example, are protected. But fundamentally, what they're looking at is good value as they enter the market. Obviously, the recent devaluation of the sterling has helped, perhaps unintended consequences, but they've been very sensitive to that. Because they look at the UK in general, Scotland in particular, as a very attractive investment environment. And of course, with cheaper pound, it makes it even more attractive. And the second thing they look at is the ability, the propensity of that economy, so they say the Scottish economy, to generate a lot of innovation. They're very sensitive to innovation. As we know, innovation drives pricing power. Pricing power drives the creation of good jobs. So an innovative economy, plenty of innovative companies here in Scotland, is very attractive to me. In fact, recently, one of our elite company called Skyscanner, global leader, bought by a Chinese company. Just one example. The company was very close to us, still very, very successful and headquartered right here in Edinburgh, a global success story for effectively the Scottish software and tech industry. It's first and foremost a tech company applied to travel.
Acquired by Seatrip, one of our great unicorn companies.
Exactly. And I think that's just one very precise example as to ultimately, once they're dealing with a market that they can understand, and they're probably not sensitive solely to the political stability, macro environment, there's a price for everything. But if they find a very innovative set of companies, they will be interested. Then they can apply the proper premium or discount, depending on the legal framework and other things. But that in itself is not the primary or the primary determinant of their decision to invest. They're looking for management, they're looking for innovation, they're looking for ambition.
Yeah.
Growth and innovation, I think, must be the story.
Let me ask you,
in the context of SMEs.
Absolutely. Well, before we sat down to talk, I commented to you on the extraordinary growth of Tencent.
Yes.
Now,
just gone past 500 billion.
The journey of Tencent's remarkable, but you have taken the London Stock Exchange Group on a very remarkable journey as well, which included, as you said, the Russell acquisition and others, and very nearly the Deutsche Börse acquisition. One would always like to rewrite history, but had the negotiations gone more quickly and had the Brexit vote been different, we could be in a very different place indeed. Are you able to comment on that? The dream that you had and the vision, not being able to implement that fully?
It's in the past, of course, so of course I can talk about it. Whilst I won't get into the minutiae of why the deal ultimately didn't succeed, this would have yielded the #1 financial infrastructure company in the world by global diversification, by revenue, and probably by capitalization. And although the London Stock Exchange Group is doing extremely well today and is a global leader, #1 in global clearing, #1 in global indices, and one of the top leaders in IPOs, with the assets within Deutsche Börse, particularly global collateral management and futures trading, we would have been the undisputed global leader. And what I think has been a little bit overlooked in the UK is that this company would have been headquartered, top code, as we say in our jargon, legally domiciled in the UK, with governance protections, 75% supermajority of board votes, and 75% supermajority of shareholder vote for any future governance changes. So this would have embedded this company in the UK in a way, by the way, that no other listed UK company is protected or has in terms of its statutes. And I think we came very, very, very close. And I won't get into the detail of actually why this failed. It's a little bit different from what I think the public knowledge or this public information suggests. We came very, very close. And the last comment I would make is our industry, financial market infrastructure, is catching up with its customers. The bulk of businesses, large banks, large asset managers, there's over £650 billion of assets being managed in Scotland, so it's relevant to Scotland as well. Global issuers, their businesses, as I mentioned, are global. Our industry remains, as I've sometimes described it, as a little bit of a cottage industry, run locally, with very few exchange companies having global ambitions. And what I fear is in the next 4 to 5 years, as we've said, and I have said, I think in the end there'll be room for 3 global exchanges across the whole spectrum of global services that exchange provides. One, I believe, will be the Shanghai Stock Exchange. It was our hope that one could be anchored in Europe, here headquartered in the UK, which would be a merged company. And I think one would have been in the United States, probably the CME. And today, I don't know how that's going to land. I don't think there's room for 4. And so I think this was a missed opportunity, perhaps the last such opportunity, I cannot say, I cannot be sure, for Europe as a geographical entity to establish its rightful place in the financial infrastructure area, which is so important post the 2008 crisis. Because industries like clearing, settlement, as decided by the G20 and ultimately confirmed by the G8 and the G7, are at the center of finance. And this is at service of the real economy. My fear is that if financial infrastructure succeeds and grows globally in Asia and in the US ahead of Europe, the big corporate issuers, at the end of the day it's about them, and the big investors will seek global liquidity, global efficiencies for their balance sheet, access to global risk and intellectual property. We'll seek that in China or the US. And I believe this was strategically a missed opportunity that eventually Europe will come to regret.
And finally, because you have a large number of young people waiting to hear you and engage with you,
very much looking forward to that,
including some people from sixth forms in schools. What's your advice to young
very
people?
Deep.
No, they wanted to come. What's your advice to young people as they now move well into the century of Asia?
Well, I assume all of them are already learning Mandarin. I take this as knowing you and your dedication, that this is guidance you have already provided them. I would say whatever you do, whatever your exposure is, clearly Asia today has enormous growth opportunity. And again, they're just getting started. Whatever you do, I would say the only advice I would allow myself to give is ensure that whatever you do, you have passion for it.
Yes.
It's too boring otherwise, and you won't stand the course. Find something you can have passion, and if this is in Asia, even the better. But try to combine and marry passion with innovation. So you want to work in Asia, I can only encourage you. Start by learning a language. Go live there. Go study there. Sure. Go date there. Marry there. Find some connectivity, deep personal connection with Asia, whichever country it is, and then try to apply, particularly because you come from outside domestic environment, based on your experience, based on what you learn, including here at Edinburgh University. Sure. Once you find the area that excites your passion, try to apply innovation and innovative thinking. Add value. And just, you can only be limited by your own ambition, so think big.
Xavier, thank you. As always, thank you. It's so good to have you back here.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.